Welcome to the Handcrafted Podcast, the business of making things. I'm Paul, founder of Philadelphia Table Company and the Handcrafted Network, and I believe great craftsmanship deserves great business strategy. This podcast is for makers who want to build not just great products, but a thriving business. Each episode will dive into the mindset, systems, and skills that turn craft into success. All right, guys, welcome back to the Handcrafted Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Handcrafted Network, an online community and classroom where you get to connect with other entrepreneurs, other people doing it, other people in the trenches with you. We have a lot of modules in there about some of the things actually I'm answering questions about today, and growth, mindset stuff, systems, operations, all of that sort of stuff. So if you're interested in joining the group, check it out, thehandcraftednetwork.com. Feel free to also send me an email if you have any questions, paul@thehandcraftednetwork.com. All right, guys, so we're going to do a quick little office hours session here. I had a few questions. They've been piling up a little bit. There's a few more. I'm just a little tight on time today, so I'm going to do the best I can. I'm just going to cover 3 questions here, and I'll kick a few of the other questions into the next office hours. So thanks so much for your questions. It's been really rad hearing from you guys. It's been awesome connecting with the community, learning about you guys as business owners and as people. It's been awesome. So I welcome all emails. Feel free to email me, paul@thehandcraftednetwork.com. All right. Anyways, so question number 1. I'm only getting a few orders a month right now. Is it too early for me to start thinking about systems and processes, or should I be building them now before I grow? So this is a great question. First of all, I don't think it's ever too early to start doing systems and processes. I didn't do systems and processes until I had an operations person, and I was like, crap, I'm unorganized, I'm losing money, and I feel in total out of control. Once you start to feel like that, that's maybe the time to start putting in systems and processes in place. It's never too soon to start thinking about your customer journey and breaking down that. There's actually a module in the school group or the community online for those of you guys who are part of the group. There is a systems and processes sort of breakdown. It takes you through the customer journey and then like outlines where you sort of branch them off and how you sort of create a system and a process. So it's like a whole tool that shows you how to make these systems and processes and how to break down. It's not as complex as you think, but it's really helpful. Like I said, if you want the tool as well, send me an email, paul@thehandcraftednetwork.com. I'll send the tool over to you for free, but it's also in the community for those of you guys who are in the community and listen, and those of you guys who are thinking of joining. But yeah, so it's not too soon to start this. Where it starts to, it's kind of that balancing thing, sort of like the, the 3 bears or something, where you don't necessarily need to start too soon, but also if it gets too late, it's going to be too late and you're going to be complete chaos. So for me, it was kind of trying to find that happy medium. It's helpful to start thinking about this as early as you possibly can. Also, if you're only getting a few orders a month, that's really great. You're into like a really great start. I actually thought the question was going to go another way when I read that first sentence, and it was going to say, how do I get more? The question there, so sort of bonus answer, is how do you get more than a few orders per month? Think about how you got those few orders per month and double down on it. So if it's coming from friends, be like, hey, I got to reach out to more friends. If it's coming from designers, reach out to more designers. If you're getting them on Facebook Marketplace, double down on Facebook Marketplace. So figure out and break down how those orders are coming in and then start to grow from there. All right, question number 2. I keep hearing that meta ads can be a game changer for makers. How do I know if I'm actually ready to run ads, and what should I have in place first? All right, so this is actually another thing we have in the community as well, so maybe it might make sense to join that. But we have a module in there that talks about, are you ready to start using meta ads? And if so, how do you do it? For me, I didn't start using meta ads until I hit about the 750K mark. Then I did some sort of like Instagram boosting stuff, and then I didn't even really start doing like proper meta ads until this past year. And it's added about, 20 to 30% of my top line revenue. So meta ads can be really great, but you need to know how to do it. Doing it too soon, so starting right out doing it, a lot of times you're going to get missed leads, you're going to get missed quotes, you're not going to know how to close the deal because you haven't really developed the sales chops. You haven't figured out what your offer is. So go back, listen to the podcast from last week where we talk about niche, we talk about offer, the things that you're giving the person. If you don't know what those things are, you don't know what's making you uniquely different, you're just going to be burning money in Facebook. You're just going to be paying for Zuckerberg's vacations. You're going to be paying for Zuckerberg's yacht fuel. So make sure you know all that stuff before even starting to run ads. I think it's helpful to have a good foundation of organic leads before starting to run ads. So there's a lot of things you could do ahead of that, making sure your website is great, making sure you have really great photographs, making sure you have a good portfolio, making sure you have a good social media, all of that stuff. If your website sucks and you're running ads to your Facebook, you're running Facebook ads to your website, what's the point of doing that? If your Facebook or Instagram suck and you're running ads on those pages, what's the point of doing that? People are going to look at it and they're going to move right over. You get one shot at showing these people. So there are a lot of fundamental things in place. If all of those things are great, they come to you and you don't know how to close a deal, you don't know how to price, you don't know what you're talking about, you've never made it, that's not great either. I know there's an online group where you're able to use somebody else's like content photos, like farmhouse tables and stuff. And to me, that's kind of so messed up. It's not stuff you've like ever built, and you're not really selling you. What you're selling is some photos from somebody else. Of course, they're going to generate leads, but are they actually generating sales? I know a lot of you guys have talked to me about this, and I'm like, the reason why it's not generating sales is because it's not you. You haven't learned how to make sales. You haven't learned how to make these pieces. So going that route, like licensing photos from people, like, come on, man. Like you could be better than that. And I know everyone's looking for the silver bullet and the shortcut, but it's frustrating for me to see because you are better than that. I know you're better than that, and you're capable of doing better than that. And if you don't have the content, you don't have the photos, go back, listen to some of the early podcasts where I talked about ways to develop a portfolio, whether that be building things for your home, building things for friends, neighbors, family, starting to photo those, starting to build your social media, starting to make your website great, starting to get really good at communicating, starting to get really good at sales. And once you have all of those pieces in place, you go, oh, meta ads. So for me, meta ads are icing on the cake. If you don't have a cake, I mean, icing, great. Icing is delicious. But if you don't have a cake, there's nothing to ice. So make sure you have the cake. Make sure you have the foundation built. Make sure you have, a nice, steady workflow of leads coming in. There's ways to do this for free, whether it be Facebook Marketplace, Etsy, cold outreach, networking, friends of friends, Facebook communities. There's so many different ways to do that, and maybe I'll do a whole podcast on that, how to bring in work for free. We talk about this a lot in the group. I have a whole module on I think I call it like 5 free ways to drum up business. So I have a whole module on that in the online community. So feel free to check that out. All right. Hopefully that's question. Hopefully that answered the question. Sorry for the rant. I just get frustrated when I see people trying to take the easy way out when there isn't necessarily an easy way or a silver bullet, and also people paying for things that is just like burning money, right? Like you spend a lot of time making your money. Why give Zuckerberg more fuel? Why pay somebody to license photos of things that you didn't make, right? It just feels ass backwards to me. Anyways, question number 3. I get a lot of inquiries that never turn into projects. What are the most common mistakes makers make during the sales process that cause leads to go cold, and how can I fix them? Here we go. Another one so this is a kind of the question that you should have before you start running ads, before you start running meta ads, is understanding how this works, how to close a sale, how to get the thing. So the first thing that I always try to do is I try to vet people for price first. I try to get an understanding of what their budget is, if we're even the right fit. The way I do that is I have an order form on our website that has budget list where they have to list the budget. If somebody's messaging me or texting me or sending me a message on Instagram, what I'll do is try to squeeze a budget out of them, or I'll say something like, hey, pricing starts at X, or what you're looking for is going to start around this price. Once you have that, you're able to vet the person right away. If the person has the budget, then great, this is game on. It's easy for you to try to close this deal. If the budget's not right, it's the wrong lead for you, just move on. Go to somebody else. Trying to convince somebody that, I mean, so sometimes this does happen, right? I say, hey, they start at 4,000, tables start at 4,000 or whatever the price is. And they go, I'm sorry, my budget's only 3. I go, okay, so I'm sorry. Let me know if the budget opens up. Would love to work with you, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes they'll come back to me and they'll be like, okay, Paul, I've thought about it. I'm willing to expand my budget. Like, what can you offer? That's where you can sort of upsell, and you could be like, hey, this is why our pricing is this. And I often say that, hey, this is why we're using the highest quality materials. We have highly skilled people. We're using very high quality finishes. We're making things one of one. This is a fully custom thing. So once you start to speak into the value, those people start to buy into it. But that's the sort of the first gate is like, are they your customer? Can they afford this? Do they vibe with your style and your aesthetic? That's a thing too, I think. If you're a company that's making farm tables and somebody wants something that's ultra modern, maybe it's not the right fit, or vice versa, right? We do things that are a little bit more modern, trending. Somebody asked us for a farmhouse table yesterday. I said, nah, this isn't our style. So the other thing too, when leads start to go cold, I like to do regular steady follow-ups and also making sure you respond pretty quickly. A lot of times when people are shopping for things, in my world, they're shopping for furniture. They're kind of reaching out to a bunch of different people. They're reaching out to a bunch of different companies. So what I try to do is be the first in, first out. So I try to go, hey, get to them right away, even if it's just like, do you have images? Do you have any details? So they know that I'm there, I'm listening, I'm paying attention, and I'm easy to sort of get a hold of. And then from there, it's a matter of, I like to send Loom videos. So a Loom video is like a video overview of what the project is. The Loom video shows you as a person. They get to see your face. You get to talk through the project. You get to sell the value of what it is that you're doing, which is super awesome. I love doing the Loom videos. They've been so successful in helping close deals. With that said, once you've done all these things, people tend to go cold after a little bit. So what I do is I do like kind of follow up. So I'll do a follow up after a few days. I'll be like, hey, did you get a chance to check out the Loom video? If I didn't hear from them, I'll just be like, hey, are you still interested in purchasing a table? Sometimes people are like, yeah, life got busy. I'm definitely still interested in a table. Let me get back to you. So then what I do is just keep sending gentle nudges. I try to avoid the word, hey, I'm just following up, or I'm just checking in, or I'm just pinging you. I try to avoid those things. I try to find ways to loop back in. So if I was talking to somebody about a specific project and then I'm out somewhere and I happen to see something like it, I'll snap a picture and I'll be like, hey, I was out at X. I saw something that kind of reminded me of your project. I think this could be a cool, interesting vibe. Or I saw this cool color that I thought could be cool to incorporate in your project. Then people go, oh, wow, he's like really thinking about this. He's really invested in it. That's a big part of it. Another thing too is phone calls really help. Zoom calls really help. So if it's somebody that seems like they're really active, there's somebody who's really interested, I suggest trying to do a phone call. And you can even do this too as people get cold. Maybe 3 steps down the road, you go, hey, you know what? Would it make sense for us to do a phone call? We could talk about this in a little bit more detail. And I think that could be really helpful. I do that often. Hey, could we do a Zoom? Could we do a phone? Once you talk to them and they talk to you, bringing people to my showroom is the number one way to close deals. But talking to people on the phone, talking to people through Zoom is also, very, very good as well, as like a close second to that, making sure you are connecting with these people in a way that makes them feel comfortable. So that's a really great way to follow up. All right, so I hope these answers were helpful to your questions. Again, I just had a quick session today, so sorry for talking super quick. I'm going to try to address a few more of these on the next office hours. I also worked on some of the questions get kind of long, so I actually used my best buddy, ChatGPT, to isolate these and make these a little bit more concise questions. So if you submitted the question and it's not exactly your question, it's because I put it through ChatGPT and helped clean up the sort of like question content thing. All right, guys, have a really great week. Again, it's been great connecting with you. If you have any other questions or if you have any other questions, email me, paul@thehandcraftednetwork.com. Wait, actually, I remembered one other thing I wanted to say about the question that you asked about the cold leads. One thing I've noticed is people like to communicate the way that they reached out. There have been plenty of times where somebody's texted me. I've tried to switch to email. Somebody's messaged me on Instagram. I've tried to switch to text or email to text. You got to keep people where they are. That's the best way to close the deal. Once the deal's closed, you could then put it into your system. Our system's all email based, so then I switch everything back over to email. But people want to communicate in the way that they reached out. They reached out to you on Instagram because that's how they like to communicate. They reached out to you via text because that's how they like to communicate. So don't try to pivot. Once you pivot, you're going to lose the contact. So continue, maintain it, whether it be a Facebook message or whatever. Continue to communicate in that way. All right, guys, that's it. Have a great week and catch you next time. Peace.